plagiarism checks only on the basis of language that you have given as input to the software, nothing else. All right. The data that is not in digital form, you cannot ensure plagiarism for that as well. So how do I go about? So one way is evaluating your sources. Okay. And there are many ways of evaluating your sources. And these days, I have given one example. There are so many. I am not saying that POW, that is Purdue's Online Writing Lab, is the only source, but this is one of the source, and I find this easy to learn. So how do I evaluate my sources? Different types of sources, whether they are in print or whether they are in, you can say, they are in digital form. So how do I evaluate them? This is a good resource for all of you, that you can log on to Purdue's Online Writing Lab, and there is a facility, there are guidelines, detailed guidelines given on evaluating your sources. You can see here on the left of your screen, there is a menu which says that you can evaluate bibliographic citations. Okay, so there are sources which give you bibliographic citations, for example, Google Scholar. So if someone has uploaded something on Google Scholar, you will get citation there. So how do I evaluate that? Evaluating digital sources, as I said, 1.8 billion websites, okay, and that too according to 2018 data. So I think by this time it may be around or more than 2 billion websites, and that many sources are available. So it's really a task. It's really a task to evaluate. So the best way is, when I start reviewing something, I must evaluate my source, whether what I am evaluating, what I am referring to is right or wrong, whether it is reliable or not. Okay, so that is what I need to ensure. And there are many facilities available online. Purdue's Online Writing Lab is just one example. Now the question is that, are these quality concerns new to us? Have we become quality concerns or copyright concerns only in the digital era? Why this plagiarism? Why these UGC guidelines? What is the basis for these UGC guidelines on plagiarism? Okay, so the genesis, the origin of all these things are in the Copyright Act 1957, and that came into effect in 1958. So since then we are trying to ensure quality, not only in research but in everything that we publish. Okay, so when we ensure quality, reliability, validity of what we publish, what we share, I'm sure that there will be reliability and validity of what we refer to. All right. So the Copyright Act 1957, it came into effect in 1958, and then it was revised from time to time. As I said, that industrial revolution has gifted us advanced technology from time to time. Okay, and that has enforced us to change rules and regulations. So the Copyright Act, it was amended. It was amended in 1983, 1984, 92, 1994, 1999, and then lastly in 2012. So what we are getting today, the plagiarism guidelines by UGC, they are based on this 2012 uh, amendment in the Copyright Act 1957. So why we had to do all these changes, make all these changes in, or why we had to bring amendments in Copyright Act as Copyright Act 2012? Because of some international treaties, because of invent of internet. Sharing was easy, access was easy, appropriation chances, even they increased, hacking increased, copying increased, everything increased, malpractices increased, and therefore India and in entire world, we signed some treaties, okay, and one of them is World Intellectual Property Organization, uh, WIPO Internet Treaties, 1996. So India signed these treaties that we will not allow malpractices, okay, we will not allow violation of copyrights on internet by any means. So India promised the entire world certain things and then introduced the same thing by the way of education, by the way of plagiarism guidelines. Okay. So if you want to know in detail, you can go to Copyright Act Amendment 2012, and you will get detailed guidelines, okay, from where plagiarism guidelines were adopted. So there comes the question of plagiarism, because why I am focusing more on this aspect is, if you know these guidelines, you can actually take them to the beginning of your research. Okay. So it's very important. Plagiarism guidelines are not to be referred to only after you have finished everything. Only after you have finished. You must know, you must refer to plagiarism guidelines before actually you write your proposal. You propose a research study. Okay, you should be aware of that. But there is a difference. There is a difference between plagiarism and copyright infringements. Okay, so plagiarism generally we refer to when we do not acknowledge something. So I take someone else's idea and I project them as my own ideas. When I project them that, yeah, this is what I have done. So that is what we call plagiarism. But copyright is something, and generally copyright is associated with economic benefits. All right. So we need not worry much about copyright violations, but still we should be aware of it, because everything that is available to us in terms of source to refer to, that doesn't mean that I can print everything. Okay, I can print everything in my thesis. No doubt it's for educational purpose, but we cannot do. So copyright is when you take something without permission, okay, and which has economic interest involved as well. But when you do not acknowledge and when you copy certain things without permission, it becomes violation of both. It becomes plagiarized as well as violation of Copyright Act. Okay. And it may lead you to legal aspects as well, litigations and other things. Generally, copyright violations, it happens in science. Okay. It happens when you even copy a graph without asking the publisher. All right. Because and when you produce it as it is, or when you produce it in your name, because people analyze data with very difficulty. They collect data and analyze it, okay, and then produce outcomes, findings, and they have taken much pain in doing that, and therefore everyone would expect that you should adhere to all these rules and regulations. Now, how do you avoid plagiarism? There are simple steps. Uh, they concern everything, but majority of them are language aspects. Okay, so there are plagiarism guidelines. As I said, UGC has published guidelines, and then different educational agencies, they have made it available to the students. So by adhering, by following those guidelines, we can avoid plagiarism. Uh, we can ensure acknowledgement at least. Some universities, they are also publishing plagiarism checklists, because many times students, they don't read everything in detail. So the plagiarism checklist that I have shared here is I have got it from one of my friend. She is working in Hong Kong University, and her university follows this kind of checklist. So for each teacher and for each student, when they are conducting research, they give this checklist, and students, when they submit their thesis, they have to take responsibility by filling this checklist. So Any university, even Madurai Kamaraj University, can develop a simple checklist for the students to follow. And I'm sure you must have done as part of your IQSA activities. Uh, Mastering language skills, it's important. These days, all the universities, irrespective of the regional languages, they are asking to publish in English because we want to be at the international level, and English is an international language. So in that case, mastery over English language becomes important. So we can ensure quality, we can ensure that my thesis, my research report is plagiarism free by learning a few simple skills. So even if you go to that Purdue's website, you will get some practice in summarizing, in paraphrasing, in synthesizing, and quoting. Okay, so we have learned what is summary in our school days, in our college days, but we are not aware about what do we mean by paraphrasing and synthesizing. So it's a matter of practice. So summary is just reducing a source to certain level, at least 1/3 of the original. Paraphrasing against that, you can retain the length, of the original text, but you do not copy, because internationally, any copy means when you use more than 3 to 4 words or 6 to 7 in some cases, when you copy more than 6 to 7 words continuously, that is considered as plagiarize, that is considered as copy. So if I want to refer to some source and want to take it into my writing, my research writing, I will have to change the words, change the grammar by retaining the meaning. So meaning should not change. Okay. So by paraphrasing or by summarizing, even if you change the meaning, if you alter the meaning from the source, once again, that report is plagiarized. Synthesizing is done by summarizing and paraphrasing only. So where you differentiate between theirs and mine. So what is someone else's contribution? And by referring to someone else's contribution, I try to make it my own contribution. Okay, so that is where, as a research scholar, I step in and I give something new, some new interpretation to my readers, to the audience. Okay, and quoting helps. Quoting helps where I need to, reproduce something as it is. So from where do we get these guidelines? So from academic writing guides or style sheets. Okay, for example, in social science, we are using MLA. In language and sciences, in linguistic studies and in science studies, we are using APA, American Psychological Association. We have Chicago Manual as well, and we have so many. So even if you go to MS Office Word's reference section, you will get a list of style guides. So style guides, they are detailed rule books. They are like constitution. And style sheets can be developed. Style sheets can be developed by a research scholar individually as well as by a university. So each university can develop its own style sheet. For example, Oxford and Cambridge, they have their own style sheets. They give detailed guidelines on how to cite a reference, how to acknowledge someone else's contribution in my research. Okay, so research guideline is like constitution, and style sheet, okay, it's like a small booklet of essential rules and regulations that we must follow or that concern me only. A style sheet can be only of 1 page, okay, as like this checklist as well. Okay, so style sheet will help you acknowledge in the right manner. Okay, that is internationally acceptable. We should not forget that we are publishing something. We should try to make it internationally acceptable. Next is by addressing some misconceptions that are going on, okay, regarding using these skills. Okay, so sometimes if I know that I can summarize well because I'm a language teacher. I can write well, I can summarize well, I can paraphrase well, I can change the vocabulary, I can change the grammar. But that's not all. If I just change the words, that's not going to make it mine. So I need to know that what are the misconceptions. So I have listed a few. There are so many, but time will not permit us to take all misconceptions. So I have listed a few in this presentation. And one of them is I need not acknowledge the source if I summarize, paraphrase, or synthesize. That is a misconception. I must acknowledge. So even if I summarize someone's contribution in my research report, I must acknowledge whether I change words or not. If I change the words or if I synthesize to make it my own, there is no direct reference to that source, but still I must acknowledge the source. And see, number of acknowledge doesn't mean that I have produced a lesser quality research. In fact, the more number of acknowledgements are there, the more people will rely on you. All right. The more research scholars will rely on you across the globe. So there is nothing wrong in increasing the number of citations in my research, because that is also a misconception sometimes among the research scholars, especially young research scholars, that if I acknowledge more sources, then people will think that I have not contributed. No, it's not like that, because we are just continue, because research is by nature is something that we continue. Okay, we don't start from the beginning. There is always a previous knowledge assumed. All right, so there is always something, some base for what I'm doing today, and therefore there is nothing wrong in acknowledging the sources. Next is I can copy quote with acknowledgement from any source. So there are always doubts regarding the source. So if something is available to me, okay, I feel that, yeah, I can cite. And I don't know where I have mentioned, yeah, the last one in this slide only, that if I get a PDF of a book, I can use it as a source without permission. See, many times it happens that what I get as a PDF online, actually, it's not a digital copy. It was only in print. Someone, as a mischief, scanned the copy, uploaded it. Okay. And then I cannot cite it as a digital copy. Or since it's available online, free to download, that doesn't mean that I can use it in my thesis. I have to follow the minimum procedures for copyright violations. I have to take necessary permissions as and when required. So there are certain misconceptions regarding availability of resources on digital platforms. Okay, and obviously it's going to happen that when I find something useful, I forget about taking permissions and all these things. My focus is only whether it's useful to me or not. Okay, it's useful, it's qualitative, but as a researcher, it's my responsibility. It's my responsibility to ensure whether that book, whether that article, it was a digital copy actually, originally or not. If it was not, then I will have to follow certain other procedures. So need to ensure validity of a source. Okay, there is no other way out. Another thing here is knowing the embargo. Okay, for each publisher. So sometimes what happens is that there is a particular tool for data collection. Okay, for example, a psychological test. It was published in a book. And there are misconceptions going on, okay, in the academic fraternity as well, that if a book is published before 10 years or 20 years, then I need not take permission in using that psychological test tool. It's not like that. I must find out, because each publisher declares embargo. So embargo is a period during which access to a publication is not allowed. Okay. An embargo applies to online resources as well, online journals as well. So if some publisher has made an online journal free, that doesn't mean that we can take anything from that without permission. You must find out from the publisher what is the embargo period decided for a particular publication. All right. So it depends upon the author as well as on the publisher. Then there are certain ICT tools. ICT, information and communication technology, it's a great advantage to all of us. There are tools that make our life easy, that can actually help us avoid certain mistakes committed inadvertently. Okay, some mistakes we commit inadvertently without a bad intention. So since I'm ignorant, since I don't know the right way of doing something, I commit a mistake, I commit an error. Okay, so ICT tools help you become accurate. They also ensure objectivity in the process, and they can also help you decide authenticity of what you are referring to and what you are sharing. All right. Some of them that I find useful as a research scholar, as a person who is active in research, I'll refer to two free. There are so many referencing softwares available online. But I find Zotero and Mendeley, that I'll talk next, these two very useful. So Zotero and Mendeley, both these tools, they are referencing tools. And I'm sure that anyone who starts a research today has a computer available with internet connectivity. Zotero doesn't have a mobile app, but Mendeley, the next I'll show here, let me just show you here. Mendeley has a mobile app as well. The advantage of these kind of online free facilities, because they are free facilities, is you can manage your references very well. So when you start referring to something, you can start using Zotero or Mendeley. You can collect your data in the library. I'll show you in the here in Zotero that I have created a few folders. For example, e-content development. Okay, so that is one of the area of my interest, and I also take interest in research, research conducted in e-content development. Then research ethics. Okay, so I just created this for an example, and writing for research scholar. So I can create different projects. Zotero and Mendeley, these are free softwares that you can plug in with your browser. So if you go to YouTube, you will get detailed tutorials on Zotero and Mendeley. Now, what are the benefits? You can organize your references well. If they are digitally available, you can directly download here in these folders. If they are digitally not available online, but they are available in a digital form, you can copy paste here. If something is in print and you want right ways of citation, you can select, because almost all style sheets are available. All style sheets are available that are in use. So you can decide, for example, if I want to follow MLA or APA style sheet, then I just need to select APA or online or APA style sheet or MLA style sheet and provide necessary data. Okay, so name of the author, title of the book or title of the paper, page numbers, whether it's a chapter in a book or not, date of publication, publisher, place of publication, and then it will generate a citation automatically for me. It will also help me generate a bibliography or reference list according to the style that I am following. Okay. The difference between Zotero and Mendeley is Zotero gives you online space. So you can access, it's a cloud-based technology. It's a cloud-based software. So it works like a Google Drive. So if you have Zotero or Mendeley account, you need not have your personal device handy all the time. If I come to Madurai, leaving my laptop here, I can access all my references from Madurai with the help of internet connection. So that is possible. Major difference is that Zotero has almost all the sources, because we have a confusion. For example, I'm delivering a lecture today, okay, and I'm using a PPT. Now, university or the college will upload my lecture online on YouTube, okay, for someday, for example. So can you refer to my lecture? Can you refer to my presentation as well? Yes, you can refer to a presentation. You can refer to a lecture. You can also refer to a teacher's class note in a valid, reliable research. The only thing you need to know how to cite it properly. Okay. Sometimes there are misconceptions. Okay. That if I have published something, I published in some other journal, and then do I need to cite the same thing when I'm publishing something else and taking reference of my previous publication? Yes, we need to. So Zotero gives you a long list of possible sources that you can cite in your research publication. In comparison to Zotero, Mendeley has a short list. Mendeley works in synchronization with reference menu of MS Word. So all research scholars must go to the reference section of MS Word and can check. So Mendeley has limited, but one advantage in Mendeley over Zotero is Zotero offers only 300 MB online space, whereas Mendeley offers 2 GB space free, where you can save your references. So that is how you can use. Personally, I use Mendeley and Zotero in combination, because I suffice my space need with the use of Mendeley, and my sources need, type of source need from Zotero. And there is one common thing between all the two is that you can export files from one to another app. So you will get desktop app on your computer, and you can actually transport. Okay, so from Zotero to Mendeley and Mendeley to Zotero. That's the benefit. And that's a real advantage. So we are approaching the end. Yes, sir. I'm in my last slide, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right. So the ultimate question is that why we are teaching. Okay. So knowing all these tools, knowing rules and regulations, it's not enough. Ultimately, we should know that what guides ethics. Okay. What informs ethics, from where ethics are derived. Okay. So in general, ethics are derived from God or faith. Okay. So the scripture I believe in, sometimes constitution, a rule book, okay, statute of a university, from where there I get inputs regarding ethics. Ethics are informed by the rules, but ultimately our consciousness, our awareness matters a lot as teachers. Okay, so everything is available, rules are available, but it will all depend on us, on our consciousness as teachers, on our self-awareness, and that's where we create our self-image. We must not forget that why these schools and colleges, why parents send their students, send their children to schools and colleges, not just for knowledge, not just for information, but for the right practices, for the right ways of learning to be carried forward. And that is our responsibility. Our responsibility is to help the society sustain the right values, morals. Okay. And that will only come through our practice. If we don't practice, our students are never going to practice. Okay. And when we practice, it's always difficult. And pain does not matter to a man, and pain does not matter to a teacher. All right. It should not matter, in fact. So teachers should be ready to follow minimum procedures in right spirit. And that's where our self-awareness will lead to quality research outcomes. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. I don't know how to express my sincere gratitude to you because such a way I promised to all the participants. Yesterday we had a different session based on IQSE, but the real session it is going to take off from the second day onwards, and it was a spellbound session with 600 plus audience. And
great,
it's a great surprise that the Honorable Vice Chancellor has been sitting from the session to the last, from the first minute to the last minute of the session, and he has been.
In fact, I'll be obliged to get feedback from Sir and Sir's
Yes, sir. Yes,
experience
sir.
because, as I said, yeah, he is a university in itself.
Yes,
so
sir.
I would like to benefit from his knowledge as well.
Yes, sir. He personally called me and said, "Subbu, I want to speak few words before the question sessions." So it is over to our Vice Chancellor, sir.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Surendra Singh.
Yes, sir.
It's wonderful. You have collected a lot of data from various sources. That's a real good information for that my teachers and all the participants, including me, right? That's wonderful. But my suggestion is, don't think it other way, but kindly, when you are telling that presentation like this, kindly tell that what is the self-plagiarism.
All right, sir.
Right? You have to include that, because most of the teachers, they don't know that when I am quoting my paper, why I have to take that or why I have to call it plagiarism. So that is the one thing. Second, kindly give some note about the H index.
Sure, sir.
Because wherever we are, selecting the student in DBT or DST or even UGC, we are looking for the H index of the students.
Yes, sir.
Teachers.
Yeah.
Right. So that is also very important. And also kindly, tell about that. What is the intellectual property right?
True, sir.
Intellectual property right, copyright, patent, and it's going to interlink when you are talking about the plagiarism and also the legal. Because don't mistake me, Surendra Singh. Don't take it.
Not at all, sir. Sir, in fact, it's a very umbrella subject. Where each aspect. So if I talk about copyrights, then it will require 1 hour.
No. Just to introduce that.
Yes.
Copyright.
Sure. I have noted, sir.
What is intellectual property right and other
yes, sir.
things.
Yeah.
Because even our own student, they are doing lot of research, but they don't know it can go for the patent.
True, sir. True.
Because they don't know how to approach the patent, how I can spend the money. These are the things are there. But it's really wonderful. Really wonderful. It's a really eye-opening session for that about legal and also the ethical issue of research. Hope my teachers understand that everything, and I hope so they can pose some of the questions to you. If you have time, you can answer it. Otherwise, you can put the mail by seeing the questions. Anyway, Ramesh Subbiah, thank you very much for giving the opportunity. Hello.
Ramasubbu.
Yeah, his audio is.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ramasubbu. It's a wonderful session.
Yes, sir.
I really surprised to see that near about 600 participants are there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm seeing wonderful saying that nobody is sleeping, right?
Yes, sir.
Because
Yes,
video
sir.
is on.
Yes, sir. Yes.
It's
yes,
after lunch time. Usually people will sleep.
Yes,
Right?
sir. Yes.
It's wonderful.
Yes.
Even our principal is laughing all the time.
Even secretary sir is sitting, sir.
Secretary
Secretary
is
is
also
also sitting, and he wants to.
No. In this age, sitting 1 hour, I know what is the difficulty.
Yes, sir. Yes,
But
sir.
he's sitting. It
Yes,
shows that his interest on your college.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It
Well
shows
said.
that how
Well said,
he's
sir.
respecting the respected speakers.
Yes,
right?
sir.
So that
Yes,
is, it's really, you did wonderful.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for giving an opportunity to talk to you. And
Yeah,
I'm
yes, sir.
really happy to meet at least 600 faculty members and students at a single video. All right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you
Yes,
very
sir.
much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm indeed honored that you attended my session, and it's a great motivation for me, sir. Thank you so much.
Surendra Singh, I will call you back to Madurai Kamaraj sometime.
Thank you so much, sir.
Excellent, sir.
I'll-
Excellent, sir.
I will call you.
Thank
I
you
will
so
call
much.
you. Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.
Can I-
Sir, no, sir. VC sir, our secretary sir wants to talk to you and the resource person, sir.
Please, please.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Surendra Singh,
Yes, sir.
really it is a good session for me.
Thank you so
I
much.
am the secretary of this college. It is really worthy, I think, on a session for my faculty members. I think so. But education, but you told that the education should bring up a good behavior in society.
Yes.
And also, you told about the decline in Indian research arena. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
In the year 1980, it was
10.
among
10.
10.
Hmm.
In 1990, it was 12th position.
Yes.
And at present, it is in 20th position. It is really, it is something we have to realize it. Academicians should realize it. I'm not that.
Sir, I will just take only 30 seconds to correct here that at present we are in top 10, but that is
now
that
we are in top 10. Very good, very good. Very
yeah.
good.
So that number is regarding research publications, not
Okay.
regarding quality.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is, yes, right. But it is really, it is a high time we follow research ethics to improve the quality of our research, like academic honesty, academic integrity, and quality concerns. Am I correct, sir?
Yeah. Correct,
Yes, sir.
sir.
Yeah, sir, you are.
Though the lecture, it is clearly how a researcher should be in pre-research, during research, and post-research. And guideline for research guides and the plagiarism is crystal clear. Really. And also you have told about the ICT tools and how it should be used with accuracy, objectivity, and authenticity. Really a good session to my faculty members. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I am indeed honored, sir, for your thank you for your feedback, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, VC sir. Thank you so much for your august presence throughout the session.
No. Don't say. It's an academic program.
Yes,
It's
sir.
an academic program.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I also, yes, sir. I also see my Gurunada, Dr. Bhaskaran sir, also is Bhaskaran sir from Gandhigram University. He is also present here.
Oh, okay. Very good. I see
Yes.
that. I see the name.
Yes, sir.
Sir, secretary, sir, and principal and IQAC team, and
Yes,
also
sir.
my honorable guest speaker. I thank you one and all for giving such a wonderful opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, we have a lot of questions and questions, nearly 90 questions. I don't think that we can. Yes, sir.
You can email me question and I'll ensure that I reply to all.
Yes,
no
sir.
problem.
Yes.
Yeah, but
yes,
we can take some here, no problem.
some questions now because right now the time is 5:30.
Yeah, we have
We'll
to-
discuss questions, a few questions for
Sure.
for another 10 minutes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. One strong question, sir.
Yes,
If
sir.
the education takes place by digital classes,
Hmm.
what is the strong bond of this Guru Sishya system?
In fact, we had a discussion a few days back, and I'm going to deliver a session on 23rd of May, as I told you. So I was just thinking about online teaching and everything. Now, I believe that we have wrong apprehensions. We have wrong apprehensions regarding what will happen if teaching becomes online. All right.
Yes, sir.
The thing is that if today, if we consider schools and colleges only as infrastructure, then it's going to lead us, okay, to disconnection of these bonds, okay. But if we believe that even schools and colleges, if teachers have a real role to play, that means that online teaching also, it's not going to be successful without good teachers. Planning is an important part of teaching. Preparation is an important part of teaching. It's not my nature as a teacher that binds me with my students only. Okay, so if I offer, if I'm liberal to my students, and if I am offering some perks to my students, okay, that is not only thing that is sufficient. It is what I actually give them, which is useful to them in their life, and that I can disseminate in any manner. Okay, whether it's a digital media or face-to-face, synchronous, asynchronous, in all the ways it's possible. All right. So I don't think that there is any replacement, any technology has any kind of replacement of quality teachers. Okay, it's not at all possible that quality teachers can be done away like that only. Second thing is regarding bond. As I said, bond depends on what I share with my students. Okay, and how do I address their problems? And that can be done. There are so many students I have personally, because I am conducting online classes for the students of Gujarat, because I am working in Navsari Agricultural University. All right. And we have 4 agricultural universities. What I did was, when I decided to start online classes for my students, because I was using Google Classroom for long, what I needed to do was just to make live classes, okay, on Zoom or WebEx or something like that. I opened my Google Classroom for the students of all agricultural universities of Gujarat. We have never met, sir. Actually, we have never met. And now I'm getting calls from them. I'm getting genuine queries from them, and I'm happy to answer. And that has created a bond online only. One thing on a light note, when people can get married with a date on Facebook, I'm sure that can happen in online teaching and learning as well.
Sir, thank you, sir. So one question from London.
Yes, sir.
He is an old student of our college. And it seems to be a very pertinent question.
Yes, sir.
Dear Professor, I am so fortunate to listen to your crystal clear international standard presentation on such weighty topic. My question is, except a few top universities, basically there is a nationwide concern that our educational system are outdated and failing to promote the necessary skills to compete international level. What is your opinion on improvement evaluation process on research reports to an international standard?
Thank you for the compliment, first of all. Second, see, quality concerns, they are always relative. I have observed that sometimes, since we don't know English, because see, there are 2 different things to address here. Quality concern, no doubt, it depends on the way in which we present. But since our presentation in language, in English language, is not good, that doesn't mean that our research lacks quality. We need to understand this difference. All right. So sometimes I have come across research published abroad. They are in qualitative research publications, but when I actually refer to it, I find that there are far better things done in India, and they are not published. Okay, So it is always a relative concept. Benchmarking is done by whom? Okay, so it will depend on that. But obviously, in India, we need to address the quality concerns at both the levels because we are demographically challenged, okay, with the number of students, number of research scholars that we are having, the kind of facilities, research facilities that our universities are offering. And then the next difficulty level is English language. Okay, we have not addressed one thing that many countries of the world have successfully implemented is good translation practices. India has unfortunately ignored translations. The countries, many countries who are actually doing well in research and whose research reports are published, actually they were not conducted in English, or they are not originally written in English. They were done in the mother tongue, in Spanish or Chinese. Then professional translators translated it to make it internationally available. Somewhere, I hope that even Indian government formally introduces translation practices for publication, and it should not ask all the researchers to conduct research only in English. Because let me tell you one thing, that we cannot pose difficulty at two levels. That's what I'm an English teacher. I have studied in Gujarati medium, vernacular medium. All right. Throughout my schooling was done in a small government school. But language was something that I picked up later because of my interest. And now I'm writing textbooks.
Yes.
So it can be. And therefore, whenever even some parents come to me and take my advice on whether to put their child in English medium or Gujarati medium or in vernacular medium, I will always suggest that don't pose two difficulties at a time of a subject, learning something new, and that too in a new language. That is always going to hamper. The same thing is happening with our research as well. So allow research to be conducted, reported in local language, and encourage translation practices. I think that is the way forward.
Thank you, sir. We'll take two more questions, sir.
Yes,
It's
sir.
already 5:35. I published a research paper in Scopus, but after 1 or 2 years, that particular journal does not find place in Scopus list.
Yeah.
So what is my position then if I go for an recruitment?
That all depends on the UGC, because UGC constantly upgrading the list. Okay, that's not the right way. The first thing wrong we did was publishing such lists of publications. Okay, that these are valid and these are not, and that too based on the voting. Okay, so if number of universities and colleges and teachers recommended some journals, they came under a list. Scopus is definitely, they depend on data. Okay, so Scopus every 2 years it reviews the standards of publication. I think your publication, it still stands, because when your journal, when your article was published in that journal, it was a part of Scopus, and I think you will have to produce that data only, that yeah, it was in the list at that time. So no one is going to, no one can reduce the quality of your research by it is not in the list. It was there. The journal has gone out. The journal has gone out because of a regular practice of reviewing of the quality maintenance, okay, or maintaining quality in that of that journal. So your research stands. Your research is not going anywhere, or it's not deteriorating in quality. Okay, the only thing is you need to produce data.
Thank you, sir. Very good answer, sir. Sir, the last question is, do I publish articles in the refereed journals with co-author? Or when I publish articles in the refereed journals with co-author, will it be accepted for recruitment?
Yes, definitely. See, there is a standard procedure and there are points that not only one author or two authors, but as many as you want. So there is a standard point calculation procedure for that, that first author will get these many points, second will get this many, third will get this many. All right. So there is nothing wrong in publishing with co-authors. You can go with as many as you want. Nothing wrong in that.
Yes, sir.
All
Thank you
right,
so
sir.
much. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you
sir.
so much, sir. Thank you. I'm indeed,
Yes.
it was
Yes, sir.
great talking to all of you, interacting. And
Yes.
thank you once again, Nikes College, for giving me this opportunity, a wonderful
Yes,
opportunity,
sir.
I'll say, that I
Yes.
could interact with the Vice Chancellor of Madurai Kamaraj University, as well as
And he also invited you.
distinguished audience.
Yes, he also invited you in, to
Yeah,
Madurai Kamaraj University in future,
I'll
sir.
be very happy to come
Yes, sir.
and interact, learn from all of you. Thank you, Principal Sir, as well. Thank you
Yes,
for
sir.
giving
Yes,
me.
sir.
Sir,
Principal sir,
you-
I must share one thing, not just to flatter sir here,
yes,
but
yes.
you have got a nice team. And I'm happy that they ensured everything. So we had an online session yesterday night for
Yes,
15, 20 minutes, and we ensured that, yeah, everything should work well. And
Yeah.
this is a really professional approach by your team. I
Yes.
really appreciate.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, sir, thank you, sir.
You justified your invitation, sir. Now our principal is going to have a few words.
Dr. Surendra Singh, sir, really I'm happy with your presentation. Really, it's a nice presentation also. And I think Ramasubhaya concluded the question section. Please pardon me. I I want to pose one question for you.
Sure, sir.
Right?
I will be happy to answer.
All right. In research, in social science research, framing hypothesis is necessary.
In social science research,
Uh,
sir, it depends. It depends the way, means what kind of research you are conducting. All right. So sometimes in social science, your research objectives work as hypothesis. Okay. So as we frame it in a science research, it's not necessary. That's why I talked about objectivity in social science research. All right. So we don't have, because social science is open. It's subjective in nature. All right. So therefore, following any strict way of science research is not going to it's not possible practically. All right. So in social science, your research objectives can work as hypothesis. Okay, because the role of hypothesis is to guide your research. Okay.
Based on objectives again.
Yeah. So if your research objectives are guiding your research, then it equally works as hypothesis. All right.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Sir, yes, sir. Principal, sir.
Yes. Ram Subbu, now I am going to.
No. Wait, sir. 2 more minutes. Wait, please.
Okay.
We have a formal vote of thanks. But before that, sir, there is one interesting question that I would like to present for your reference. All the research scholars are interested only to plow field were already plowed, in the case of English literature particularly. Even guides are not interested to touch new topics and avenues. Is it a literary curse?
Sir, everything is happening because we are not reading.
Yes.
All right. So when we are not reading, we are not confident. For any teacher, it's important to read, and important to read constantly, important to read new things, whether I'm teaching or not. So if I just restrict myself to restrict my reading to what I'm teaching only, obviously that is going to result into this kind of approach by the teacher, approach by the student. All right. I remember my teachers when I was in masters, how my teachers used to judge us. Okay, so they were not judging us based on what I was writing or how I was writing. They were judging us on how much I am reading, how many hours am I reading. And they used to ask us, literally they used to ask us, that how many pages can you read per hour.
Yes.
All right. So that decides even way to research in literature. Okay.
It's almost 5:45, yet we are able to see 400 plus audience still there with us. And that shows that, no, they want their commitment, they want to listen to you, because
Yes,
such a
sir.
way they, as I told you earlier, it's a spellbound session, sir. And on behalf of the college, we salute you, sir.
Arre,
And
sir.
we express our gratitude. And I'll come back to you, sir, and see all the participants who posted questions, don't get disappointed. We'll post all the questions to our resource persons, and definitely he will respond to you to your concerned the particular concerned registered emails. And before we close the session, now formally I invite our colleague and IQS member, Professor Vimla, to propose vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. I feel immensely pleasure to propose vote of thanks here. I thank the management, especially our respected secretary, sir, and our beloved principal, sir, for giving me a chance to work along with the IQAC line of our college. Sir, we are meticulous in choosing all the resource persons for this online FEP. And we have taken even meticulous care in choosing Dr. Surendra Singh Gohi from Navshri Agriculture University. And I hope you can only do justice to research. So such a vast experienced man, even at this stage, he has achieved the ladder of great heights, and the presentation and the content which would vouchsafe the quality of his scholarship. I strongly believe that the audience would have enjoyed this session. Sir, we are grateful to you that you have accepted our invitation with all happiness, even though the program was organized in a short span of time. And my sincere thanks to our Vice Chancellor, Professor M. Krishnan, who has been with us till the end of this session. And I thank all the participants for your love and overwhelming responses. And the IQAC team is burning the midnight oil. We are happy if you are satisfied with our arrangements, and thank you for your trust and love. And and I also thank my colleagues from our college for their enthusiasm and active participation. And at last, my special thanks to Dr. IKC Coordinator, Dr. A. Ramasubbiya, and the team for their seamless effort, and seamless run of the program, and their hard work to make this event happen. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, all the participants. Hope you'll have a good session tomorrow too. Meet you tomorrow.
Thank you, Vimla.
Thank
And,
you, sir.
Sir, thank you so much. Would you like to
Thank you,
add some
sir.
words?
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Some participants are asking for my email ID, so I'll just share my contact details just for a second.
Yes, sir.
From the presentation itself.
Yes,
That those who have not, my email ID is very simple, surendragohil@gmail.com.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. So you can
This
mail
is
me on that.
This PPT is the gateway to Mannar College, sir.
Yeah, I have already emailed the PPT
Yes,
to you, and please share the video with me as well, the
Yes.
recorded video, sir. All right.
Only with this this PPT, I was able to catch you and then fix you for this.
Sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
So much. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you for love and concern and such
Thank
a way.
Goodbye,
At the
all.
last
Bye-bye.
minute, you accepted it.
Thank you.
I come back to you, sir, over phone.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Thank you, sir. I'm
Thank
leaving.
Thank you, all the participants. Thank you so much. We'll meet you tomorrow by 3:45. We are going to have a third session tomorrow, and we have invited a research person from NIT, Gujarat, and she's going to talk on publishing papers in Scopus journals. So there is no inaugural session, there is no felicitation tomorrow. Straight away, we are going to meet the resource person at 4 o'clock. Meantime, 3:45, please log into the log into Zoom, and as usual, as you received a mail today, at 10 o'clock, between 10 and 11, you will receive the mail tomorrow. And thank you so much, and thank you, Secretary Sir, and thank you, Principal Sir, and thank you all the IQC team and my colleagues in the college and outside the college. Thank you so much for your enormous support to make this event a grand success. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Day 2, 14th May, Research Ethics for Teachers in Digital Era session ends now.
Thank you.